Mike Hill of Fox Sports hangs out with us for a couple of segments. We'll talk some college football with him. Curious to see what he has to say about the Lane Kiffin story. You see him on the studio show for Fox Sports college football coverage. Sam Yarnell will be here in 10 minutes. We'll talk some NFL with him, some NBA later in the show, a Thursday night NFL preview. Prime Video game is a fantastic one between the Cowboys and the Lions in Detroit in what really feels like a game that both teams have to have. I mean, if the Lions lose, they could miss the playoffs altogether in the NFC. If the Cowboys win, there's a shot they win out and wind up making the playoffs, which seemed unthinkable just a month ago. We'll get into all that coming up a little later on. But as always, we start things with the big story, and the big story on this Thursday continues to be Lane Kiffin. And gee, what a shock. A guy that's been called a liar in the past by Al Davis as he was getting run out of town by the Raiders is now being called a liar by his former athletic director, Kevin Carter, and by players on the leadership council for Ole Miss, who are saying the version of events being portrayed by Lane Kiffin may not necessarily be the version of events that actually happened. Shocker. I mean, could anybody expect anything else from this guy at this point? And LSU, this is what you just bought into. At the tune of $9 million a year for the guy that's supposed to fix your team, for the guy that's supposed to fix your program. This is the guy that you just did this with. This is the deal with the devil that you just cut. Devil, so to speak, in Lane Kiffin, who, again, is a good football coach. I'm not even going to call him a great football coach, by the way, because he hasn't won anything. Greatness is reserved for those who actually win something. And I'm not talking about Conference USA championships at Florida Atlantic. Lane Kiffin got up there and said, oh, they wouldn't let me speak to the team. And Kevin Carter said, no, that's not exactly true. And the leadership council said, no, that's not exactly true. We told you to get out of the room. We're done with you. You don't want to be here. You're bailing on us as we're about to enter the college football playoff. I don't know if I've ever wanted to root harder for a team in this college football playoff than I want to root for Ole Miss, even though Lane Kiffin will get paid based on their success. How great would it be if that team went on to win a college football national championship and Lane Kiffin isn't there for it because he bailed, because he jumped ship? And then how much credence would it lend to the idea that, well, maybe it wasn't Lane Kiffin? If Pete Golding could go in there as the defensive coordinator and just take over the program and win a national championship, Charlie Weiss Jr. is there coaching the offense now, which is just bizarre. So many things about this story. And I'm telling you, you're not getting it all now. There will be tell-alls on this starting when the season officially ends for Ole Miss, whether that's during the playoffs or after the playoffs. If they win a championship, Kevin Carter's going to you're going to just continue to see a slow leak, a drip, drip, drip of information that comes out on this story. And I'm telling you, we haven't gotten the whole story yet, but I'm sure we will. And we haven't even touched on the fact, at least not on this show, about the fact that there is reporting out there, reliable reporting, that says the reason Lane Kiffin waited until late in the day on Saturday night and Sunday to ultimately make the announcement on this decision, the reason he did so is because he was waiting to see if Alabama lost. Because then LSU, you weren't even his first pick. How's that make you feel in Baton Rouge? That really his first desire was to go to Alabama and hoping they would lop some heads off there. That's the guy you just jumped into bed with. So now it's buyer beware? No. You all know. You all know exactly what you're getting at LSU. I will have zero sympathies for LSU 2 or 3 years from now if this does not end well and he bails on you for whatever the next shiny object is. There will be no sympathy for LSU. And there shouldn't be, because you know who you got into bed with. Big story number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks meeting with team management, ownership to try and figure out a path forward about where he is going to play basketball in the future? Is that Milwaukee, or is that them tearing down the franchise and saying, hey, we won a championship with the guy. This isn't going in a good direction. Let's trade him away and get as many assets as we can to try and start rebuilding for the future. And doing that would mean trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Knicks and Raptors in the Eastern Conference would be teams to keep an eye on in terms of a deal potentially being made. In the West, it would probably be Houston and San Antonio. There aren't going to be a lot of teams that can make a deal happen because of how much money he makes and the assets that Milwaukee is going to want in return. Now, there's only one problem with all of this, and it's this. It happened on Wednesday night. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks taking on the Pistons. By the way, good win for the Bucks. They had lost 8 of 9 going into that game. They get a win against Detroit. I think it was 113-109 the final. But here's the problem. It's Giannis sitting on the floor grabbing at his calf. Calf strains lead to Achilles tears. We've seen it time and time again. And this isn't the first time that he's had the calf strain, which means obviously there could be some issues there as far as his Achilles is concerned. How does that potentially impact what the Bucks want to do vis-a-vis trading Giannis Antetokounmpo? There's one more thing in all of this that I think needs to be remembered as well, and that is Doc Rivers, who you brought in to try and get this team back to the top of the mountain in the Eastern Conference. If Giannis is gone, there is no way in hell Doc Rivers is hanging around for a rebuild. We've seen this story before. We've seen Doc go through this before in Boston. After he won his championship there and decided to bolt as soon as the franchise started to tear things down and decided to go in a different direction, Doc said, peace out, I'm on my way to Los Angeles to go ruin the Clippers. All right, he didn't ruin the Clippers. He was just part of it. But keep in mind, when Giannis is gone, Doc won't be far behind, running out the door too. Because that guy's never hung around for a rebuilding process. Most overrated coach in all of professional sports. Won a title with 3 Hall of Famers and then didn't win anything anywhere else. Sorry, my opinion. Fans in Boston might want to disagree. Stick around, we're coming back to talk some NFL. Sam Yarnell is here. Welcome back to this Thursday edition of SportsWrap. We got a Thursday night NFL. We got a banger tonight, I think, between the Lions and the Cowboys in Detroit. Looking forward to that. Sam Yarnell is here, as he is each and every day. Are the calls coming from inside the house, Sam? Feels like it. We've been talking about, feels like all season, the idea of whether or not Mike Tomlin survives ultimately in Pittsburgh. And it, again, depending on who you talk to. I talk to some people who say the only way Mike Tomlin leaves is if he leaves. I hear other people say maybe the organization finally turns the page or the two sides come together and amicably part ways. It's one thing when you and I talk about it. And I don't have a loyalty to Pittsburgh. You don't have a loyalty to Pittsburgh. We don't care. Our interest is just what's, an interesting conversation and giving our opinions on it. But when people like Ben Roethlisberger start to weigh in and James Harrison starts to weigh in and you start to get the sense that the calls are coming from inside the house, from legends within that organization. Now, I haven't heard Terry Bradshaw say it yet. When I hear him say it, then it might be a little different, but maybe he has and I just missed it. But this is Big Ben on his podcast, because everybody has one, including Big Ben. And this is Ben Roethlisberger with unnamed co-host, who I don't know who it is, talking about whether or not Mike Tomlin should remain in Pittsburgh. Listen.
No, it's being talked about around here a lot. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's a clean house time. Maybe it is. Maybe it's time. And I like Coach Tomlin. I have a lot of respect for Coach Tomlin. But maybe it's best for him too.
Sure.
Maybe a fresh start for him is what's best. Whether that's in the pros, whether maybe go be Penn State's head coach. You know what he would do in Penn State? He'd probably go win national championships.
How does that even take place? If you're talking about cleaning house, what is the reality of something like that happening in Pittsburgh? It seems so uncharacteristic of how
it is. It is uncharacteristic.
Is that even plausible for this organization?
Well, it's happened. Listen, here's what you don't do. You don't fire a guy like Coach Tomlin. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's respected. What you do is you come to an understanding and agreement. And it's like, hey, listen, I think it's probably best for both of us. And you don't, because listen, we've had the same head coach and Coach Tomlin. We've had different offensive coordinators, different defensive coordinators, but it's kind of been the same story. We've had a few offensive coordinators now, and the offense looks a lot the same. This looks a lot like Matt Canada's offense. I mean, in terms of just like, where's the splash? Where's this? Where's,
Sam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say this. There's a reason that Ben Roethlisberger is saying this on his podcast called the Ben Roethlisberger Podcast and yada, 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 right? Like there's a degree of not connected that everybody needs to understand that this guy is. And it starts with him exposing himself there at the end there with saying that Arthur Smith has come in and run a similar offense to Matt Canada. It's objectively false. Analytics prove otherwise. Formations prove otherwise. Concepts prove otherwise, right? This is a much more dynamic offense than Matt Canada ran. So I think Big Ben discredits himself a little bit at the end of that entire statement. Although, he is a guy who's been inside that facility, right? He is close to the Rooney family. He knows to a certain extent, right, how they operate. They had to operate through some very tough times with Big Ben. I'm sure that they got very close and very personal with him during those times. And there have probably been secrets shared between all three of those parties at different times, right? That said, I think that the part that he had in the middle there is the most important. Mike Tomlin's not going to get fired. If he wants to leave, that's a different story. And maybe, at the end of the day, I think that Penn State idea that he had is a really, really good one. He is a guy who could immediately compete for national championships in the Big Ten. We're talking about 2026, as early as then, with the pull that guy has in the state of Pennsylvania and the recruiting hotbed that the state is. There was a lot in the entire clip, Jason. I think that there's some plausibilities in there, but at the end of the day, my staunch belief is that Mike Tomlin will still never be fired as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. It's not how the Rooney family operates.
No, I mean, there's push or there's jumper will push you. I mean, there are different ways all this goes about. I just think the bottom line is he's not the coach there next year. That's the bottom line to me. Which would still, no matter how it happens, is still going to be a major shakeup, not just to that organization, but around the league. Aaron Rodgers, clarifying comments he made after this weekend's loss, in which he said, guys got to show up to film study and the film room. Pushed on that yesterday. Rodgers clarifying those comments this way.
One of the things you said on Sunday that could help you and the pass catchers get on the same page as everybody coming to those film review sessions. To be clear, has there been less than 100% attendance? Is that something that you feel like needs to improve? What
I was talking about was during the week. We have our meetings on Thursdays, and I meant that everybody come there with an open mind and be self-critical and work on the things you got to work on, and let's get better. As far as any off-the-field stuff, I'm not going to talk about any of that.
We're getting the full Aaron Rodgers experience, aren't we, Sam?
Yeah, there was another level to this story online that people may and may not have seen, but it entailed, Jason, the dangers of journalism in its current state. Mike Florio put out an article with Pro Football Talk late yesterday. Mike Florio, a journalist for whom I have a ton of respect, a lawyer even, who has done incredible work in football circles at times, put out an article yesterday saying Aaron Rodgers did not address any of the stuff and was not asked questions about the comments that he made post-game on Sunday, which, as you just heard, Brooke Pryor asked him a question about. I think that there's a danger in there that, we as NFL fans have to make sure that we're vetting our sources. As stupid as that sounds in sports media, just make sure that you're seeing stories from multiple angles. As far as Rodgers' answer, it was about as political as I expected it to be, about as nothing of an answer as you'll ever get from Aaron Rodgers. I don't really, his actions and what he says on the sidelines to his teammates at this point speaks more to me than what he says behind a microphone.
But it also is part and parcel of the way these experiences go with Aaron Rodgers towards the end. And again, I still think he's going to play next year. I think he's coming back next year. I don't think he's going out like this. I don't know who it's going to be with, but Aaron Rodgers is going to play somewhere next year. He's not going out like this with Pittsburgh. He's not going out with, Pat Fryermuth and all these guys. He ain't going down that way, Sam. I'm just saying. I think.
Yeah.
No?
I don't know. I thought so before the season. The jury's out for me right now. I can't convince myself one way or another.
Mike Hill talks a ton of football with Fox Sports. He hangs out with me. We'll do that next on SportsWrap. Welcome back to this Thursday edition of the show. Talking some college football, and who knows, maybe a little bit more than that. Mike Hill does a great job over at Fox Sports, hanging out with us.
What's up, man?
ESPN alum as well. We've worked for everybody. You know? we've just all worked for everybody at this point. We've worked our way through the list. We do our own things. I wanted to get your thoughts on some college football stuff. I've been wanting to get you on for a while, so I'm glad we were able to make it happen. So when you look at I was saying this on the show Wednesday, and I was curious to get your thoughts on it. Why don't they just make it like the NCAA men's basketball tournament, women's basketball tournament? Just at the end of the year, get in a room and figure out who the hell you're putting in this thing. Why do we have to run through this crap every week of figuring out, all right, this team's and now we're going to get to the final week, and Notre Dame, who's been in it the entire time, is not going to be in it, even though they're not playing a game this week? It just doesn't make sense to me, Mike.
It makes no sense whatsoever. But, the reason why we do it is the same reason you started talking about in the beginning, is because of all those different networks we work for, man. It's all television. It's all pomp and circumstance. It's all to get the debate shows to be debating about stuff like Miami knocking off Notre Dame head-to-head, and why aren't they in front? So that's why you have the AP poll come out before the season even starts, the preseason even starts. Those are the type of things that's pretty much just made for television, made for theater, made for your entertainment purposes only. And I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but it's been that way for many, many years, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Who's getting screwed the most right now when you look at where the bracket is set up and where it could be next week?
Obviously, Miami is getting screwed big time. I mean, because they do have that head-to-head against Notre Dame. And, the committee, when they first came out, they made the big mistake of not having them ahead of Notre Dame, even though they had the same amount of losses at that particular time. Now, you can look at the way Notre Dame had been playing up to that point. And now, if you want to make a case of them being much, much more improved than the team that Miami beat the first week of the season, and if you say Miami took a step back, that's fair. But Miami hadn't lost any key players. They still had Malachi Toney. They still had Carson Beck. They still had a strong defense. They weren't giving up big leads in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame obviously was still playing much better football, but still the committee made a huge error by not only having Notre Dame ahead of them, but by pretty much a large margin, like 4 or 5 slots. And then secondly, the fact that Miami's the best team in the ACC and not even playing in their ACC championship game, even though they had the same amount of losses as the two teams that are playing, that's a travesty in itself, because the ACC obviously could, or maybe it might not, get an automatic bid in this year's NCAA college football playoff. So I look at Miami and what they're going through, and I can understand why their fans are so ticked off right now.
And even if we go to 16, when we go to 16 teams, there's going to be teams 17 and 18 that feels like they're getting screwed. There's always going to be somebody. I mean, in a field of a zillion teams in the men's college basketball tournament every year, we argue about who the 72nd best team in the country is, even though they realistically probably don't have a shot to win the whole thing anyway. Now that we've had a few days to marinate in the Lane Kiffin stuff, what do you make of sort of not just the way he left, but also the way it's been covered by our friends in the media, at some of the larger outlets, some that called for, the lack of transparency that we saw in some cases in terms of the way people reported on, their links to him or their relationships with him, even just beyond Mike, the way he left, just the way this whole thing has been covered has been a bit mind-boggling to me.
Lane Kiffin's whole career has been mind-boggling in a big soap opera. I actually like Lane. I think I like it. I think he's entertaining for college football. I think he's one of those quirky guys that, just really doesn't really care. At the end of the day, it's all about Lane. Lane wins football games wherever he goes, though. I mean, he turns programs around. He doesn't have losing records. It's not like he's a poor coach. It's just that Lane is all about Lane. All right. So that being said, I do believe that the way it's been covered has been a little quirky too. And then once again, it goes back to the whole situation about everything is about a debate. Everything is about my side, your side, right? So it's good theater, right? So I'm on the side of Lane in this situation only because Lane does not control the college football calendar. The college football calendar set Lane and other coaches up for failure in this situation. It should not be where the transfer portal opens up before the college football playoffs begin, right? So now you got coaches who want to leave, had great seasons at great schools, may have led their team to a college football playoff, and because of that, they could get penalized if they decide not to leave to go to a better opportunity. LSU is a better opportunity for football than Ole Miss is. It just is. It really is. If you break it all down, we just look at the whole situation of Lane and what he was able to build at Ole Miss, and you feel bad for the scorned lover or the scorned wife who got left for her worst enemy, over here in LSU, and you just feel bad for that. So I can see both sides of the situation, but also I'm looking at what Lane actually had to put himself in and what he had to go through because of the calendar, which isn't his fault. There was an opportunity that LSU put out there right before the end of the season. They needed a coach. They wanted a decision. Ole Miss made him make a decision before the end of the college football playoffs. He made that decision. He decided to leave what was best for him and his family, which everybody in this country has a right to do. And it screwed Ole Miss, the football team, the players who worked so hard to get to that point. And I understand the fans being upset. But we live in a society where if you have a better opportunity to get another job somewhere, there's not too many people, the fans at Ole Miss, that would not leave their company for another opportunity if it's going to benefit them and their family. So I hate when we get into the whole things of like he's being selfish and he's turned his back on the kids and he could have a statue built outside of Ole Miss. All that's well and good. But at the end of the day, we have choices in this world. We have choices in this society. And at the end of the day, most red-blooded Americans or red-blooded people, period, are going to choose what's best for them and their family, and Lane did just that.
But is it disingenuous in this regard? The idea that he tried to turn it around and say, well, I'm the victim because they won't let me coach the rest of the season, when nobody in their right mind is going to let the guy coach there, knowing he's going to try to poach players, knowing he's going to try to poach coaches. Is it disingenuous on his part to then turn around and say, oh, they wouldn't let me have one last meeting, and some of that may not even wind up having been true from some of the reporting that's coming in. Yeah. Is it at the very least disingenuous on his end?
I can understand people feeling that way because, once again, it's like, hey, he's going to poach players, whatever. But guess what? Who's coaching the team? Who's coaching the team right now? His coordinator, the guy that's going to go to LSU with him. You don't think there's going to be some kind of way that if Lane Kiffin wanted to take players out of Ole Miss?
Absolutely, it's nuts. It's nuts that Weiss is going there. More with Mike Hill as SportsWrap continues. Welcome back to the show. We'll get back to more of my conversation with Mike Hill of Fox Sports in just a moment. But first, a reminder, if you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. Available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Go and subscribe. Great content there every day. You can listen to the show Monday through Friday by subscribing to the audio version of the podcast. All right, let's continue the conversation that we're having with our friend Mike Hill, who does a great job over at Fox Sports. He's also a comedian. He's an actor. He's done everything since his days over at ESPN, where he obviously did a fantastic job and where I grew to obviously like and respect a lot of his work. We were talking about the Lane Kiffin situation and the idea of Kiffin and his staff poaching players away, and Mike had plenty to say about that.
Yeah, if they want to leave, they're going to leave. If they want to stay at Ole Miss and play for the new coach, whoever that is, they're going to play for that new coach. So, look, I understand the recruiting part of things, and we're in the business of college football because college football is a business now. Forget the academics, forget the student athletes. I was talking to somebody at Fox the other day. When's the last time you heard a player being academically ineligible? You haven't heard that in years. You know what I mean? They don't care about this. I don't even know if these kids even go to school. This is all about the players can leave the programs anytime they want to. When it was the case where the coach could leave and the players couldn't, I had a problem with that because you told that player that you were going to be committed to him for 3-4 years as long as he was going to be there. But now that the players can jump in the transfer portal anytime they want to, I feel like it's free game. So I do believe that Lane should have been afforded the opportunity to coach there. North Texas's coach is going to be afforded the opportunity to coach there, even though he got a job.
Yeah, Tulane too.
Tulane's probably going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to allow their coach to continue to coach that team. Now I understand, but there's more of an opportunity for him to take his players from Tulane to go to Florida than Ole Miss leaving to go to LSU. It's kind of right the same, both in the SEC. I understand that. So when people look at Lane and say, well, he was going to poach these players and is disingenuous and he's being selfish and doing all that, that is college football right now. Every team is doing it. When he leaves, players are going to leave with him regardless if he was there or not. So why not let him coach in the playoffs and see what you can get out of it at least before he leaves?
That's why I'm rooting for Yale more than anybody right now. I'm rooting for the nerds in FCS because look, you got Yale playing FCS college playoff football for the first time. They beat Youngstown State. It's a phenomenal story. Hey, before I let you go, you've been outspoken on certain things on social media that I've noticed. So I wanted to let you kind of weigh in on some of these items. Deion Sanders is one. Yeah. Shedeur Sanders is another. Start with Deion. I get the idea of what he accomplished before he got to Colorado and what he did as a player. But some guys just don't translate necessarily to being great head coaches, even if they're great football players, great football minds, whether it's not being able to get the recruits to come and play in Colorado. I feel like it just hasn't worked out. I know where they were before he got there, and I get it. They were completely irrelevant, and he has brought them some degree of relevancy. But when you step back and look at the entire picture of Deion, do you want to see him continue there, or do you just kind of fold it up and say, hey, we gave it our best shot, it didn't work out?
I think he's earned the right to leave on his own merit because in 2 to 3 years, I understand they have a losing records, but we're talking about Colorado football. When Deion took over Colorado, you just mentioned it, Colorado was the worst program in FBS in football. So he came there and he at least made them relevant where people are talking about the Colorado football team again, right? They had a losing record the first season last year. Almost went to the playoffs, kind of faltered down the stretch. They had great talents, of course, in his son and Shedeur and Travis Hunter, who won the Heisman Trophy, brought recognition to that team. I think what Deion needs to do first is consider and say, hey, am I healthy enough to do this, to be really fully committed to this team? It's not worth my health to have, I don't think it's an ego thing, but to have, to save my pride, to say that I was successful at Colorado, right? That's one. 2, Deion is a great, not necessarily recruiter, but he is a magnet for football players because he's still relevant. He's still that iconic figure, that cultural phenomenon that kids, even though they didn't see him play with their own eyes growing up, they know who he is because he's like a Magic. He's like a Michael Jordan. He's like one of those guys who's always transcending throughout time. I understand that. Well, Prime, I think the biggest issue that he's had as a head coach is that he has not hired effective assistant coaches. Prime needs to be what Phil Jackson was to the NBA. He needs to be that in college football. He needs to be a motivator of men. He needs to bring somebody in. He also needs to be a massager of egos. And he needs to be a therapist in a sense, but he also needs to have really good, relevant, credible coaches, not just
X's and
former
O's
players.
guys, X's and O's guys, which is what Phil Jackson had with a Tex Winter.
Winter, yep, and all the other assistant coaches that he had on his team or whatever to run that team, and he's basically the figurehead. If he can figure that out and bring in some really good coaches to coach under him that will be loyal to him and that he can get along with, and they are on the same page, I think he'll work out. So I think it's because of what he did coming in there, bringing them some relevancy. I don't think they should run him out of time. It should out of town. It should be based on his own timetable when he wants to leave, if he wants to leave.
You make a very fair argument on it because I've been on the side of, you know what, let's just turn the page. But I think the most valid point you make is go get real assistants. Don't go bringing in these former players that have big name cachet but may not necessarily be X's and O's or college coach college assistant types. We're talking some NFL with Mike Hill of Fox Sports next. Continuing the conversation with Mike Hill of Fox Sports. Talked a lot of college football. Wanted to get into some NFL items as well with him before we say goodbye. Shedeur Sanders has been a huge topic of conversation. Can he succeed in Cleveland? That was one of the many topics I want to discuss about the NFL with Mike Hill of Fox Sports. Can Shedeur Sanders ever really be successful in Cleveland? Or is it just a situation where he's got to get what he can get in terms of experience there and get to another franchise where the situation isn't as toxic as Cleveland always seems to be?
That's a difficult question to answer because Cleveland is the place where quarterbacks' careers go to die.
Yes.
It's, I mean, it's just like, again, when you say Shedeur Sanders, what quarterback has been able since Bernie Kosar been able to do something and have a successful career in Cleveland? Every quarterback that's been there has either washed out, getting kicked out of the league, or gone somewhere else and been successful. You know what I mean? You look at Baker Mayfield now. I think he can. I think he's got the skill set. I go all the way back to the draft. Obviously, they gave him a chance in the 5th round. Woo-hoo, they moved up and all that type of stuff like that. But he shouldn't have gone. He shouldn't have dropped to the 5th round. Shedeur Sanders was a 1st or 2nd round talent if you base it on his college pedigree, based on what he was able to do leading up to that. He lined up with all the rookie quarterbacks that are in this draft class. He was either as good or better. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist. All the scouts were saying that he was a top 1st round pick. All the draft experts were saying that. So now all of a sudden he drops to the 5th round, and all of a sudden the fans who don't like him are saying that he was never that good in the first place. So everybody, that all these scouts and these GMs and everybody who was talking about he was projected going to the 1st round, all of a sudden we were wrong because of that. He drops to the 5th round. So there was something there. When it comes to can he be successful in Cleveland, it really depends on if Kevin Stefanski really gets behind him. I don't think Kevin Stefanski ever wanted him.
Nope.
I think it was a decision by the brass. I think that's why he was the 4th quarterback there. This was an opportunity for ownership to say, okay, we got Shedeur Sanders. Eyeballs are on us now. People are at least talking about us. We can sell some jerseys. All those different things went into bringing Shedeur Sanders in. In addition to him dropping that far, it could have been a steal in the draft. But Kevin Stefanski, if it was left up to him, probably would have never played Shedeur Sanders this year. So if Shedeur Sanders has a coach, and I've said this in my tweets, if he can get a coach that believes in him, like Prime believed in him, and like he believes in his own talent, and will give him an opportunity to grow and coach him up and mentor him and nurture him, I think he can be a highly successful, effective quarterback in this league. I just don't think that's going to be in Cleveland.
By the way, we're going to get crushed on social media when I put videos up because we both got Giants helmet. I just noticed the Giants helmet on the side. We're going to get crushed.
Yeah, bro. Look, I stick with my team, man. They're so terrible. They're so bad.
At least they got Jackson Dart.
We got Jackson Dart. We got Scatterboo. Here's the thing, man. The Giants offense finally came around. Like, for the last, you're a Giants fan. Yeah. For the last 3 or 4 years, man, the Giants offense was putrid. They couldn't score 20 points a game. The offense finally gets going, even without Malik Neighbors this year. We got a quarterback. We had a running back before he gets hurt. Some receivers are starting to step up a little bit here. So they're scoring their points. But the heart and soul, the strength of this team this year was supposed to be the defense. It was supposed to be that front four was supposed to be one of the top 3 or 4 front fours in all of football, and they were horrible. And they've been horrible all season, with the exception of Brian Burns. So I don't know how to explain it. I really do believe that this team is cursed. When you look at, and I was talking to somebody on the golf course today, when you look at how it's Denver, New England Patriots, Chicago Bears, those are the top 3 teams in the National Football League right now. And the Giants, I can't remember the last time the Giants were actually, they made the playoffs three years ago.
1 year, yeah, with Daniel Jones.
But that was like last second comebacks, and they weren't really even that good then. They were just really lucky. You know what I mean? But it's been a hard show. But once again, when you're a fan of a team, you stick with that team no matter what.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, I'm going to let you go. One question. In a wide open NFL this year.
Yep.
Now, before the season started, I said Rams-Chiefs. Doesn't look very good on the AFC side. In a season where it feels like literally anybody who makes the playoffs could land in the Super Bowl, I think Houston's the most dangerous team that nobody wants to play because that defense will travel. Give me a Super Bowl matchup and maybe a winner if you feel comfortable.
Oh my gosh! It's the fact that I mentioned those teams that are up top, and it's almost hard for me to even like really believe in them, even though they're so good. The Patriots are good. The Patriots are really good.
They haven't played anybody, though. It's so hard for me to get behind them.
But they're beaten. I mean, to win 10 in a row is hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in the NFL, man, no matter who you're playing. I mean, you're going to slip up every now and then in the NFL. If I had to pick, though, man, I think I would go with the Patriots in the AFC. As hard as that's hard for me to say as a New York guy.
Yeah, it is.
And in the NFC, man, I'm looking at the teams in the NFC West, and I like all 3 of those teams out there. But if I had to choose one right now,
I still feel good about the Rams. I still feel good about them.
I'm out here. I don't trust them as much. I trust the Niners. I trust the Niners more so than I trust the Rams. So if I had to pick right now, I would say the Niners and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and I would say the Niners just based on experience winning it all.
I love it. Mike Hill, catch him on Fox Sports. Hey, I always appreciate it. I'm glad we got to catch up. Next time you're in Vegas, look me up, all right?
Absolutely, my man. Good seeing you, Jason.
All right, we got a banger in the NFL on Thursday night with the Cowboys and the Lions going after it. A huge game for both of those teams. That will be the subject of Odds and Ends. Sam Yarnell will return for that. Who do we like in terms of the betting aspect of the game? It's a small line. Maybe the opportunities are in the totals. Maybe the opportunities are in some of the prop bets. Find out in Odds and Ends next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Don't forget, Friday edition of Sports Wrap means Robert Lital is here, founder of Black Sports Online, giving us his thoughts on the top stories of the week. Looking forward to that. Couple of reminders. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. Available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, a whole bunch more. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday, 45 minutes. Right there in your car, on the train, plane, while you're on the treadmill, wherever you might be, make sure to check out the show. Also, Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed yet to that, please do so. It would be great for us. We love having you over there. You can watch the show Monday through Friday. Available there, commercial free, 45 minutes, bang. Available to watch it whenever you want it. It is there early in the afternoon. So you can actually watch it there a lot of times before you can even watch it on TV in most markets. Make sure to go and subscribe to that. In addition, Sports Wrap Shorts are available on our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked these out yet, please do so. 1 to 3 minutes long, usually only about a minute long, on the top stories of the day, the top games of the night. Sometimes clips from the show, sometimes clips not from the show. Make sure to go and check those out. The Sports Wrap Shorts available on our YouTube channel. Also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And without any further delay, on this Thursday edition of the show, Sam Yarnell, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, we got ourselves a banger tonight. This is going to be the one, Sam. This is going to be the one that keeps Al Michaels wanting to do this for even another year, because we want Al Michaels calling games until it's literally just like a marionette and somebody's just pulling strings and you just see his lips moving. That's how long we want Al Michaels calling games with Kirk Herbstreit and his dog. So you got Cowboys-Lions squaring off an Amazon Prime Videos Thursday night football game. Huge game for both teams. I think it's the one that solidifies the Cowboys potentially as a wild card team. And it could go the other way for the Lions. If they lose, they may miss the playoffs altogether, Sam. Detroit -3 at home. 54.5 your total. They're expecting points. And -158 on the money line if you want the Lions. Sam, what do you got for me?
Jason, I'll take it one step further than you. This is an elimination game. The way we've been talking about in college football for the last couple of weeks, this is the NFL's version of what feels like an elimination game. The winner of this game still has their playoff hopes alive. The loser, season's pretty much over. As much work as the Cowboys have done over the last few weeks, it feels like it was all work to get to this point and to get past the team that's right above you in the playoff picture right now and compete for that last spot, right? So to me, this is the game that will decide either one of these teams or both of these teams' fate for the rest of the season and whether or not they can make the playoffs. That said, like you, I'm on the over in this game. It feels like we're going to get points aplenty indoors on a fast track tonight on a Thursday night. People would think that this would be a short week. Wrong. Both of these teams played last Thanksgiving. Full week of rest for both of these teams playing inside. I like points in this matchup. I'll go over the high total, 54.5. I also have been doing this thing lately, and you'll have to shop around. These lines aren't available everywhere, but if you can find a book that offers team sack props, I like both of the teams over their sack props in this game, but I love the Cowboys over 2.5 sacks. You can get it around -110 depending on the book that you're shopping at. I love that bet in this game. I think that there's a lot of passing, and the Cowboys will be able to get after Jared Goff at least 3 times. But that said, Jason, I'm with you. Points aplenty tonight. Are we in Dallas or Detroit?
We're in
indoors
Detroit.
regardless.
We're in Detroit.
But Detroit, I like points. I couldn't tell you who's going to win.
I like points too. I'll take the over. I would not touch the side in terms of Dallas or Detroit. I'll give you one I like too. Dak Prescott, 275 yards or more at -102 over on FanDuel. That feels like a lock. Even because if they're playing from behind, he's going to have to throw it. And I think that could be a game where maybe Detroit jumps out to a lead. I like the 275 or over. You can get over 300 yards at +178. I even like that number. I may go with both of those tonight, Sam. I like both of those.
I mean, he's got a pass attempts, Dak does, of 35.5. They're expecting, and Jared Goff's is 32.5. They're expecting a lot of throwing in this game. I'm seeing a Dak interception out there at -125. I wouldn't mind that. Feels like, whether they're ahead or behind, he's always volatile and can always throw an interception. So I don't mind the Dak passing props through all of the numbers. I'd even take a risk on that attempts prop at 35.5. They are going to have to air the pill out in this game.
Forget the -3. Who do you think wins? I'm not saying we're telling people to go spend their hard-earned money on the money line here. But who do you think wins?
Who do I think?
Yes.
I think it's
that's
Dallas.
What we get paid to do.
I'm a momentum guy, right? And Dallas has all the momentum right now. And they're the hungrier team right now, it feels like. So I like Dallas in this spot to win the game.
You know Dallas is going to lose because Sam just jumped on the bandwagon. It's all over. I think Dallas wins.
Thinking, Jason. I need them to lose for all my Dallas takes to be right.
I think Dallas wins. I wouldn't bet on it, but I think they win. Thanks to Mike Hill for stopping by the show. Thanks to you all for watching. Thanks to you, Sam. We'll see you back here on Friday. Robert Littell, Page versus the Prince. We'll see you later. Hi there. Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.